right. In a minute, I'm loading them in.
Am I the host now?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's see. I have
Okay,
that, but
you should be able to, to stop the
Yes.
stream now. Do you see the controls?
yes, I do see it.
Thank you.
Yes, we can start. All set is 9 a.m.
Yep.
Do you want to let them in? Are you also?
There's only like 6 people in there right now.
Yeah. Nigerian time is. Oh, have we started live streaming? Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, then good to go. And you have the links for the pre-post survey yet in there?
I will get it from your email.
Okay, awesome. So, all right. Should we let them in?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon from Boston, and good morning to America. I'm excited to be here again. Thank you all for those of you that attended yesterday and have been following along with us on our social media and during our event, and also on YouTube. We look forward to, again, another exciting day learning about data science and machine learning today, and also learning some tips on how we can write strong application and get opportunities for funding in order to pursue our studies abroad. And this is one of the key topics that, key questions that came up yesterday. And that is why I believe this is also one of the things we'll be talking about in a nutshell. But the major thing that we'll be doing today is machine learning and data science in 2 hours. We know it's impossible to do that in 2 hours, but we just want to have a feel of our able faculty here at Wentworth Institute of Technology, School of Computing and Data Science. So it's my pleasure to introduce Professors Memo Eggers and Selem Othman, the key speakers for today's workshop. And I will let them, I believe they have plans to talk about themselves during their presentation. So in order to save time, in a kind of presentation, in a kind of workshop like this, it's always good to have a survey to understand the kind of audience that we're dealing with, and then to be able to get some information as to how this event is impacting our audience. So we have a survey that we will send out, which will be like a pre-survey for this workshop. And which will be a pre-survey for this workshop. And I just sent out the link to everyone out there. So if you can take a moment to fill that survey, and then we will start very shortly. Just take a moment to fill the survey, the link. We just want to, and feel free not to fill it if you don't feel comfortable filling the form, but we just We are not taking identity, we're not taking anybody's name in the survey. We just want to use it to understand the impact of this workshop. And thank you very much for helping us to understand its impact. If you have any question, you can just send a chat, or you can send a chat, or you can unmute to ask if you have any concerns. If you are just coming in, we are doing a pre-survey. We are doing a pre-survey to understand the impact of this workshop. No, the survey is anonymized. No data is being, no personal information is being taken, and it is just for us to analyze the impact of this workshop. So we have this survey to fill. You can get it filled in 3 minutes, I believe. Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming in. Yes, right now we are doing a survey. We are doing a pre-survey if you just came in, because we want to understand the impact of this workshop. We want to understand the impact of this workshop, and it's important in a kind of workshop like this for us to be able to understand how it impacts our audience, and for us to be able to improve in future workshops like this. So we have this survey. We have this survey that people are filling now, and the workshop itself will start in 1 minute. The workshop will start in 1 minute. Okay. So I will quickly, thank you very much. Thank you. If you just came in, we are filling a pre-survey for this workshop. We are filling a pre-survey for this workshop. Please complete the form to help us understand the workshop impact. And we're about to start because, like I mentioned earlier, machine learning and data science is not what you teach in 2 hours. It is not even what you teach in 2 days. So, so we want to take time. I mean, we want to use as much time as available. I will quickly talk about the things we'll be expecting. The things we'll be expecting in this workshop by just giving a list of itemized things. As you see on my screen, we did an introduction, we fill a pre-survey, and we'll have a data science workshop to be given by Professor Salem Othman, present here. He will talk more about himself in his talk, and next I will be giving some tips on application and funding if you are seeking for a study abroad opportunity like this. And then Professor Memo Ejas will be giving a talk on machine learning. We'll be giving us some tips.
I think the order, we will start with the introduction to the machine learning. So we'll present that, and Memo will present data science after you.
Yeah, that's right. That was my mistake. I was just trying to, because I know Professor Salem has another appointment I was trying to run. So, yeah, sorry about that. We will have the machine learning first before the data science, and then we will fill the survey. Thank you very much. And I will hand over to Professor Salem to give the talk.
So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, because Nigeria is afternoon right now. So I hope you are doing well. So we'll start. So as Yutande said, it is not easy to cover machine learning or data science in just 2 hours. So the main idea here as a perspective, because you are our prospective students, so just the main idea here is just to show you what kind of things we are teaching here and how we teach. So I will talk about machine learning in general. So I will start with the definition. So as you see here, we have 3 definitions for machine learning, but the message from those 3 definitions that we we don't need to write code to teach machine. So we don't need to write code. Just the main idea, we need to use algorithms, and we send data to this algorithm. Then the algorithm tries to learn from the data and give us a model. So we don't need here, the main idea, we don't need to write just traditional code, okay? So now here, for example, if you see here that we can take the spam detector as an example. So the spam detector here, there's an algorithm, and assume that we need to feed data to this algorithm. So we need to send data for this algorithm to learn, okay? To learn how to flag any new email, if it is a spam or it is not spam. We say it is ham. So if the email is a spam, will be sent to the spam folder. If it is not the spam, it will be sent either to the inbox folder. So I give you here an example. If you see here, we have data. If you see this in the spreadsheet sheet here, we have V1 and V2. So we have, this is called training data. So we have a set of emails, which is V2, and we have another feature, which is we name it label. So V1 here, if you see in the we name it label. So that means we have some people go and read these emails, then they decide if it is ham or spam. So the main idea here, how can we send this data to the spam detector algorithm to learn, and then this algorithm be able to classify any new email if it is a spam or not a spam. So there are two types of algorithms known for machine learning. So we have supervised learning algorithms and we have unsupervised learning algorithm. So how they are different? For the supervised learning algorithm, we assume that we have the data, like the emails that I showed you right now here. We have the data, and also we have the label ham or spam. This is the assumption for the supervised learning algorithms. For the unsupervised learning algorithms here, we assume that we have the data, but there is no label. So we don't know if this, so we have those emails, but we don't know if they are ham or spam, okay? So now here, we have some examples for supervised learning algorithms. For example, the first application, which is easy to develop and cheap, it doesn't cost us, because to identify the zip code from handwritten numbers on the envelope. So the idea here is just to go and just collect those handwritten numbers and then go and read them. This is the data, okay? And then you read those numbers and try to write down what's the actual digit. This is the label. Then then try to send this to supervised learning algorithm to learn how to know if the handwritten digit, how to know if it is number 1, 2, or 3, and so on. There's another example, for example, here to determine whether a tumor is a benign on a medical image. So it is benign or not. So you need to collect a set of images, then you need to send them to expert, and then that expert will tell you if this image is benign or not. This is very expensive, and we have some privacy issue here. For the unsupervised learning algorithm, for example, here, for example, assume that you have, for example, on Twitter, you have followers, for example. You collect those followers, you see them here in this example. This is called customer segmentation. So you have those followers, you collect them, and you have their age and their income, and then this is the information you know, and you don't know those labels. Those labels are not known for you. So you have data, but without label. Then you send this data to the machine learning algorithm, and machine learning algorithm able to classify or cluster them together. Then you come as a human and see those clusters and put the label. This is an example for unsupervised learning algorithm. Now let us try to classify those algorithms based on 3 different criteria. Yes.
I think it's
Oh, he's talking.
you can
Okay.
go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So now, the first classification, we need to know whether or not the algorithm are trained with human supervision. So here, based on this, we can have supervised learning algorithm, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforcement learning algorithms. Also, there's another category. We need to check whether or not the algorithm can learn incrementally or on the fly. Here we have two types. We have online versus batch learning. And also we need to see if the algorithm just memorize the data and then compare the new point to the existing data. This is we call instance-based, or the algorithm tries to learn some pattern in the data, and then we build model and we use the model for learning. So for the supervised learning, as I told before, the supervised learning, we assume that we have the data and we have the label, and with the famous technique in the class, we have two famous techniques in the supervised learning. We have classification and we have regression. For example, the spam filter that I showed you at the beginning is belong to the classification technique. So here you see that we have emails with labels. This is not the spam. This is a spam. So we send this training data to the algorithm to learn. Then when we have a new instance, we need the model to help us to know if this is a new instance spam or not spam. There's another technique, which is called regression. So for the regression, we try to predict a numeric number. For example, I give you a car and I give you some features about a car. For example, the mileage of the car, the age of the car, the brand of the car. Then I ask you, can you guess? For example, ask the model, can you tell me what's the price? So this is another called regression. So we have features, which is the mileage, the age, and the brand, and so on. We send them to the algorithm, then to the model, then the model tell us the price of this car. Okay, so now here, this is some examples of what we do at WIT here. We are teaching those algorithms for the supervised learning algorithm. You see that we start with the k-nearest neighbor, which we are going to cover today in this workshop because it is the simplest one. And so for anyone can understand this algorithm. Then we have some linear models, and we like linear regression, logistic regression, and we teach support vector machine, and we teach decision trees and random forest and neural network and deep learning. So those are the algorithms that you expect you are going to learn, and more than that at WIT. Today, we're only going to focus on the k-nearest neighbor later, okay? Now, for the unsupervised learning, as I told you before, the label does not exist. We assume that we have data, we have features, for example, feature 1, and we have feature 2, but we don't have label. And we hope that the algorithm can go and try to cluster those, find some clusters here. This is what we hope from the algorithm to do. Then we come as a human, look for this clusters and try to label them. So for the supervised learning algorithms, we are teaching, for example, some clustering algorithms like k-means, hierarchical cluster analysis, and we also teach some visualization and dimension reduction algorithms like principal component analysis, PCB, and also we teach association role mining like a prior algorithm and some other algorithms related to the data mining. So for example, here for the dimensionality reduction, just to get idea about what's dimensionality reduction, sometimes when you have the data that I told you about, you need to feed to the algorithm or the features, this data might be large. So you have, for example, 1 million features. So if you send them to the algorithm to learn and build the model, it will be expensive. So sometimes we need to reduce the number of features, or we say here, reduce the dimensionality. If you look here, now we have X1 and X2, we have data here represented in 2 dimensions. Those are the points represented in 2 dimensions, but we reduce this 2 dimension to 1 dimension here, but you see that we save the distance. You see that we have the distance saved between those points. It seems that we have some proportional distance, okay? Now we have also some unsupervised, semi-supervised learning algorithm. When you have labels for some data and most of the data does not have label, there are some specific algorithms to solve this problem. For the batch and online learning, just in a nutshell, what do you mean by batch learning? So when you have the data and a huge data set and you send the whole data set at once to the learning algorithm, for your algorithm to learn and produce a model. So this is one technique. This sometimes is expensive. And there's another technique which is called online learning. So in this way, this is the online word is misleading a little bit. This is, we can name it incremental learning. So what do we do? And instead of sending the whole data set to the algorithm, we send the data piece by piece. This is good for a huge data set that that does not fit in the memory, and also good for online for real-time analysis. Okay. The final thing here, which is instance-based versus model-based learning. So if you look here, we have two types of algorithms. So there are some algorithms, instance-based learning, like for example, k-nearest neighbor. The algorithm just store all the points here, store all the training data. So we store all the training data. Then if we have a new data coming, just we need to measure the distance between this point and some other points and decide the label of this point. This is called instance-based learning. For the model-based learning, which is the most interesting, we are trying to find a model. We are trying to find a mathematical model. For example, here, our model, this line is the model, this dashed line is the model. So we are trying to find this model to separate those two classes. Then when we have a new point here, we see if it is inside this area or outside this area. If it is inside this area, that means it's belong to the green label. If it is outside, it's belong to the other label. Okay, so let me just today focus on the one supervised technique, which is k-nearest neighbor. I just give you an introduction about machine learning, but let us focus on only one algorithm. So if you see here, the main idea of the k-nearest neighbor, you are given a data like the green one. This is the data and this is the data, the green and the blue one. So the algorithm just saves the data. Then after that, when you give a new point to the algorithm just measure the distance between this point and all other points. Okay, then do some other ordering and then pick the closest neighbors for this point. For example, here we have the k is equal 5. So the closest 5 neighbors are those 5 points. So we have 2 blue and 3 green. We vote and then we said, okay, this point should be green because we have 3 greens here. So let me tell you the algorithm here. This is the steps of the algorithm. First of all, you need to determine the k. So how many points you need to compare to? We need the closest neighbors, 3, for example, 6, 10. So you need to determine k. Then you need to calculate the distance from the new point to all points in the data set. So you need to just compare the distance. So calculate the distance. Then after that, sort this distance and pick the top k nearest neighbor. Okay. Then after that, just use the voting, use the majority, as I told you here. For example, for this point, the majority are green. So we have 5 close neighbors, the majority of them are green, 3 of them are green, so this point should be green. So now here, how do you calculate the distance? You said that you calculate the distance between this point and all other points. How did you do that? So we use Euclid distance. We use this equation. For example, let's assume that we have this point x1, y1, and this point x2, y2. So to calculate the distance, it will be x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, then take the square root. This is how to calculate the distance between 2 points. Now, assume that we have this data set. We do a survey and about paper tissue, and it was expensive survey, and we collect this data from a human being. We base it on the survey. We have 4 types in the data, type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. And people said type 1 and type 2, they are bad, and type 3 and type 4, they are good. Okay. Now, assume that we come up with a new type 5. We have this type 5. So we have the acid durability, which we name it x1 here is a 3. And the strength of the new tissue, paper tissue, is 7. So now the question here, should we do the same expensive survey, or should we use this data, send this data to a machine learning algorithm, and the machine learning algorithm will learn and then will help us to decide if this new material or new type is good or bad. So can you guess what the classification of this new tissue is? Can you in the chat window tell me, what do you think? So I will answer the questions in the chat window later, but yeah, can you guess in the chat window? Can you tell me what do you think? If we have those 4 types, type 1 and type 2 are bad, type 3 and type 4 are good, and I have a new type, which is when acid durability is 3 and the strength is 7. So can you tell me in the chat window, what do you think? This is going to be bad paper tissue or good paper tissue? In the chat window, you can use the chat window. So great. So now here, if you see what we are going to do, so first of all, we need to take the new point, which is 3 and 7, and we need to calculate the distance between the new point and all other points in the data set. So if you look here, we start with this point, 7 and 7. So we say 7 minus 3, 7 minus 3. Thanks so much for answering. So we will see now if the machine will have this answer or not. Thank you, Muhammad, for answering. So Muhammad said bad. Let us see if the algorithm will discover that or not. So let us first calculate the distance between the new point, which is the 3 and 7, and the first type, 7 and 7. And we found that using this equation, 7 minus 3 squared plus 7 minus 7 squared, and take the square root, it is 4. So this distance between type 1 and the type 5 here, or the new data set, is 4. Can you tell me what's the distance here between 7, 4, this one, 7 and 4, and 3 and 7? Can you tell me the distance in the chat window using the same equation? Using the same equation, can you help? So we have type 2, 7 and 4, and type 1, and with the new data, 3 and 7. Can you use the same equation, same way I did here, to find the distance between type 2 and the new data set? So if we do that, you see that the distance is 5 between type 2 and the new data point, and also distance between type 3 and the new data point is 3. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for answering. Yeah. And the distance between type 4 and type 4 and the new data point is 3.6. So if you look here, those are the distance between the new point, data point, and all the other data, the other points in the data. So what should we do after that? We need to rank. So when you see that this point is close to this new data set, so it is, the distance is 3, so we give it number 1. 3.6 is the second closest point, so it will be 2 in the rank. And this point, it will be the third closest point, and we'll give it number 3. And this point is the so it is the last one, it is the fourth one. So this is the order. So now here, let me ask you a question. If we decided K to be 1, so does that mean we only make our decision based on this point, which the label of this point is good? So what do you think? If K is 1, so what's the class of the new point here? What's the class should be if K is 1? Good, great. It will be good. Thank you so much. Now, if we pick K equal 2, can you tell me what's the class, good or bad? If we pick the only top, the two closest point for this point, so I order them 1, 2, 3, 4. It will be good. Great. Thanks so much. It will be good. If we pick K equal 3, thank you. If we pick K equal 3, why did you say bad? If we pick K equal 3, so K equal 3, we need those 2 points, 1 and 2, and this point. Why did you say bad? So we pick 3 points, 2 of them are good, 1 is bad. So we need to vote. The majority won. So what do you think? We have 3 points closest to the new point, the unknown point, has to be good. Yes, because we have 2 good and 1 bad. Great. So this is the simplest algorithm in the machine learning. This algorithm belongs to the instance based. So in the learning part, we just store the data. Yeah, so we only store the data. Then after that, we compare this. Okay. Now let us use Colab. Do you have access to the Colab? Do you have access to the Colab? Let me share the link with you here. Let me see if you do. 1 second. See. Chat window. Great. So now on the Colab, I would like, okay, let me share this now. Let me stop sharing this and move to the Colab and show you some interesting stuff there. 1 second, please. Share. So great. So in the Colab here, you see that I'm going to use, can you just confirm you can see my screen? Can you confirm that you can see my screen? Great, great. Yeah, I think it is safe. Yeah, I think it is safe. So now here, if you see that I'm going to use the MJLearn library. This is a function, helper function, come with the introduction machine learning with Python code. It is a very interesting function. So I'm going to run this function here just to help you to learn machine learning using visualization. So first of all, you need to just install this function. So don't forget this symbol before the pip. Okay. Then after that, let me just explain this, then I will show you. So now here, I'm going to import MJLearn. And this is Python language. By the way, how many of you have used, how many of you know how to use Python? Do you use Python? Can you write in the chat window, just make sure that you can understand what's going on? Great, great, great. So I import the MJLearn and I import the matplot library. Okay, good, good. So now, what did I do here? There's in the MJLearn, there's a data set, and we can create our own data set. So there's make forge. So this is syntax data set. So you see that here we create a syntax data set, and you see we plot the data set using discrete scatter in the MJLearn. So you see here we have 2 classes. So we have class 0, the blue one, and class 1. So this data just has these 2 classes, first feature, and this is the second feature. Now here, I just show you using MJLearn, how can you use this library, plot K and N classification. You can decide the number of neighbors you need. For example, if I write 1, you see that for those new points, we compare the distance to everyone and all the points in the graph, and we pick only the 1 point when K equal 1. So we make the decision based on the closest neighbor. We can change this value to, for example, make it 2. So you make the decision based on the closest 2 neighbors, or 3. Okay. So you can learn. This algorithm will help you to see some visualization, help you to understand what's going on. Okay, in the K nearest neighbor. Now here, we are also using some scikit-learn algorithm. So in the scikit-learn algorithm, we need to, for example, here, the first thing in the machine learning, you need to split your data. When someone gives you the data, like this one here, make forge data, this is the data. Okay. Now this data need to be splitted in 2 parts. So we have the training data and the test data. So you see that here we are using the training test split method. So this method take the whole data set with the label and then split it to the X train, Y test, X test, Y train, Y test. Then using scikit-learn, you can import classifier like K nearest neighbor classifier and determine how many neighbors you need to make the decision, or what's the value of K. Then after that, you fit your model, and then you test your model and some data, your model able. So for example, you see that here we have this data set. We have 2 features, X and Y, as those. We have some value X and Y, and then we send this feature or this X test to the model, and the model able to predict if the class is 0 or 1. If the class is belonged, yeah, this is the what I showed you here. This is class 0, the blue one, and the other one is the class 1. So yeah, so then you can also see how accurate your model. So here you see that when I run the score, I send the X test and the Y test, and see that our model here is 80% or 85% of the time is good. So I don't know, do you have access right now? Do you have questions about how to use those algorithms? Did you install this one? So so I have a small exercise for you to finish right now on your real data set, but I need to make sure that you are able to access Google Colab, and you are able to install this library and use it. Can you write in the chat window? If you have any question, I can answer here. So just general, this is general description of what we are doing here. So do you have access right now to the Google Colab? Okay, if you have access, I would like you to install this library, pip install mjlearn, and tell me if you succeed to do this or not, and let us move forward. I will copy paste it here so you can use it. Can you run those on your Google Colab? Okay. Do you have any question? Great, using day, I think there's no response from there. Do you see any response? Great, thank you so much. He said no, good, thank you. Yeah, great. So if you have any questions, so I would like also to share with you what we have done with our students here. 1 second, just for what I have done with my student co-op students. This is my website, sogoresearch.com. So this website, this is a work using machine learning and data mining with my co-op student. So you see that we are doing emoji set mining using data mining techniques, and also we are doing some research about epidemiology. Those the students who work with me in machine learning and data mining. And yes, if you are interested, you can go to this website. Okay, I will send you the Colab link now. 1 second, I will share it with you. Can we share the 1 second, just share and copy link. This is the link for the notebook that I'm using. All of you, this is the link. Can you access this? Great. Yeah, you can access the code that I wrote. So then the task that you need to think about, okay, let me share again. So the task here, you see that I gave you in the link that you have this real data set, the breast cancer data set, and you have the data and you have the label. And now your task is just based on what we did here. You need to split the data first, then you import the k-nearest neighbor classifier, train the model, train fit the algorithm or fit the model here, then try to just predict and test. Use those. So now here we have this load breast cancer data set, and we need to create a model to help us to predict based on the given data set if it is cancer or not. Okay, so this is the data set, and this is the feature or the label of the 0 and 1. So 0, it is not a cancer, 1, it is a cancer. So I would like you to, based on what we did here, can you just give me a model for this data set using the k-nearest neighbor? You request access, let me see. Okay, you should, yeah, let me see that. I think you can access it without, you don't need to request, and I'll give you permission here to everyone, copy link. So, viewer, anyone with this link, yeah, anyone with this link can, I will share it again, so anyone can access the link and see what's inside it. Just 1 second. Tunde, can you try to access this link? Do you need any permission to access? I think I make it open for everyone.
It works now.
It works now. Great. Great. So good. So we still have 4 minutes, I think, until 9:50. So if you have any question, I am here. Let me see in the chat window if I see any questions. Oh, you're not. Yeah, I think it is safer than the YouTube and Tunde, I think if there's no questions, you can take the lead here. You are muted, Tunde.
Thank you very much for that wonderful time of machine learning in a nutshell. And
Yeah.
and I hope that you have learned some things from there, and you will, it's just a stepping stone. You will take it further to build on those questions. And I believe that Professor Othman will be happy to answer your question even beyond this workshop time. So if you don't mind to share your contact, so that if they want to follow up with you with maybe collaboration, maybe learning, further understanding what you are doing, or networking for research purpose, that would be great. If you want to follow up with Professor Othman, he's a faculty here.
Yeah, this is my email.
Yeah, thank you very much.
wit.edu. So this is my email, othman.s1@wit.edu. Feel free to send me any question at any time you like.
Okay. So thank you very much. It's really wonderful having you. And I'm going ahead to share my screen now. Okay. So, welcome again. Thank you very much for coming. And I will be spending the next 15 minutes talking about strong application and funding tips for you to help yourself with study abroad. I know during our program event yesterday, this is one of the major questions that came up. How do I get funding? How do I get scholarship? How do I pay my tuition? What is your tuition? What is your tuition fee? And this is, we know universally, money is something that you have to consider whenever you want to embark on a project. And I don't think money should be a hindrance. It should not be a hindrance because we should be on top of it. If people can do it, if people can make it, if people it's just like what we did yesterday. When you get informed, it changes your life. And because it happened to me, I know it can also happen to anyone. So our point of discussion for today, I will start with a short introduction just to talk a little bit about what we're doing. I mean, what I want to say. And mostly I want it also to be interactive. So I'm not preparing a kind of elaborate slide. I'm not like doing an elaborate, because I know it is not about me. It is about my listeners, whether on YouTube or you are right here in this Zoom meeting. So it's not about me. Some people want to get the kind of opportunities that I have, or I also, sometimes I think the kind of opportunities that I see coming up, I wish I knew these things before. So these are things. So as an introduction, then I will talk a little bit about myself, give a little story about myself, so that would be an insight, or that would be an inspiration for anyone that is in my shoes. That is if I had some shoes when I was growing up in Africa. You know, yeah. So anyone in my shoes will be able to get inspired and know that if she can do it without anything, then you can do it as well. You probably have many pairs of shoes as we speak, but there was a time I had only one pair of shoes. So so you can do it. And also being able, and then the two major things that we're talking about, some tips about application and some tips about funding. And that is where I will also want to hear from you what effort you have made, what challenges you have, and how we can brainstorm on navigating these obstacles and overcoming the challenges. And lastly, I will conclude. So introduction, as an introduction, I will take a quote from Wendell Berry. And that is my introduction. Nobody can discover the world for somebody else. Only when we discover it for ourselves does it become common ground and a common bond, and we cease to be alone. So this is, Wendell Berry telling us that you cannot discover the world for anybody else. Whatever I'm telling you now these are just tips. Until when you discover it for yourself, until when you take these tips beyond this meeting and dare to hit the point. Because sometimes, dare to break barriers, dare to make, even when it seems impossible. One thing I always tell people is I'm never afraid of no. The worst you can say is no when I ask a question, even if you consider my question impossible. And sometimes this question that you think is impossible, sometimes it's because you don't ask. Sometimes there's some doors that you think can't open. It's because you don't knock on them. So why don't you just make the attempt? Sometimes no can be intimidating, but be ready to face the challenge and the intimidation. Let them say the intimidation, let them say no, right? No is not a crime, but that is better. It's better to ask and get a no than not to discover it by yourself. And so until when you do it, until when you take my tips, until when you take some tips that you found online, before you can now break that ground, we can keep asking. One of the things of yesterday, we were asking, do you offer scholarship? Do you offer scholarship? And I'm glad the grad admission officer was there to let you know that it is merit-based. Yes, it is not full, maybe average on the average. People that are average based on merit, they get like 20% off. That still doesn't take off the weight of the school fees, but it is something, right? So these are tips that they give you. And then you feel that, okay, I want 100%. There is no free lunch, no 100% thing, even for indigenous students in America. Many people, they go to school with student loan. Majority of the people, after they graduate, they start paying back the government for many years. There are some of my colleagues, sometimes they probably are still owing. In the professional community, they are still owing the government, they pay. Some parents, as they pay school fees, tuition for their kids, they are also paying tuition for themselves. So it is not free. Sometimes they give you free tuition in exchange for you must live in the dorm, right? So which means living in the dorm means you have to pay. So, but for international students, the story is not exactly the same. It might appear difficult for you. It might appear difficult for you to get this funding. It might appear difficult for you to say, okay, because I'm not an American, because I'm not a British citizen, maybe you want to school in Britain or anything. But they also have their own issues around this scholarship. In your own case, many times international students, when you get gifts, and you use the gift according to the purpose. Sometimes they pay the fees for you. Sometimes they release the funding for you to travel abroad, and you are able to manage with what you have. Like sometimes because you bring in your own funding, you are not restricted to live in the dorm, and you can work out your ways around whether you want to live in the dorms or whether it is cheaper for you to have a room share, or whether it is cheaper. Sometimes you are even lucky to have maybe a relative or maybe a friend that you can share with and pay some little money, or maybe not pay at all. And you are able to control your funding that way. So, and all this we work together. All this we do together, but the ultimate goal is for you to have the benefit. So when we're talking about that, I will talk a little bit about myself and how I've been able to navigate the journey. Actually, talking about myself is, again, not what I can do in the few minutes I have. But talking about myself, all my degrees are in computer science, bachelor's, master's, and PhD. And I have more than 20 years in the academics now. If you look at the picture on the right, these are just, I did some college with some of the universities I've visited, either for study or postdoc, for PhD or postdoc, or for undergraduate study or any study at all. So I'm starting from Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Nigeria after my youth service, fresh out from the university. I was able to do my 1-year mandatory youth service, and I was retained in that university to start my academic career, and that was all. I've never done anything else. I moved to University of Ibadan in 2008, and then between that period and 2015, I was able to have one research fellowship or the other at the Montfort University in United Kingdom, and also at the University of British Columbia in Canada, where I did part of my PhD research. British Columbia and Pittsburgh, where I did part of my PhD research, and also Northeastern University, where I did my postdoc research before I later joined Wentworth. So that is me in a nutshell, and all this I did with one funding or the other. And how do I get this funding? It's not because I'm so special. It's not because I'm smart or anything. It's just because I have decided this is what I want to do. I was not satisfied with the kind of education I had, and I said I wanted more. I was not satisfied with just staying within the locality. I wanted some more things for myself. So I make sure you keep an eye on anything, even if it's going to lead to failure. Like I remember one of the applications I put so much energy in. I spent so much sleepless nights, and then it failed. I was proposing with a professor abroad, and then it failed. I felt so sad and everything. And he told me one thing when I sent him the letter. He replied and said, okay, even for us top professors, it takes writing 20 it takes writing 20 to write. I mean, getting 20 no's to get 1 yes. That was an inspiration. So I was like, no, I'm not going to stop. I will give it a try. So never stop. Give it, I mean, keep on trying. Keep on trying. Keep on. Don't be discouraged or intimidated by the fact that you have lost one opportunity. So I want to assure you, there's no time to tell you the deep things about the story. I have a list of failures, so many, which I don't consider failure, because whenever you have a no like that, you write a university, you write, because I just randomly look at people's professors' profile and look at, I don't need to know you. So the idea of, because there's something about Nigeria, many countries about, sometimes you think it is who you know. You don't have to know anyone. Just randomly pick about 50 people, pick about 20 people, send them the same kind of letter. Make sure that you personalize it to them. It only takes you figuring out one letter. Make your letter original. Let it tell the story about you. And you can duplicate it to many potential collaborators, many potential sponsors, many potential scholarship opportunities. Write it to them. If they're impressed about you, they will, one person will contact you, 2 persons will contact you, and you can take it from there. So that is one of the key styles that I used. Sometimes people that you know don't even work for you. It is actually people that you don't know. They will check you out, and make sure, because I don't have all these tips listed, I just want to give tips. Make sure that whenever you tell stories about yourself on social media, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, tell professional stories. Tell things that sell you. Brag about yourself. Nobody can tell your story the way you do. So brag, because when you write a letter, some of these things will eventually pave way for you. The number one thing I do whenever I have letter from someone I don't know, I just go to Google. I find out, does this person have any presence somewhere? Do you have maybe social media, maybe Facebook? I want to go there and see the kind of conversation you have with your friends. I want to see the kind of things you post. Are you somebody I can work with? Are you somebody I wish to have as a potential student? I will go and do some background check. I do some security detailed job, right? I do some background check to find out who is this person asking me. Are you the type of person that I will not be happy working with or being my student? Because I want to check out who you are. So make sure when you post some background things about yourself, people are looking, people are checking. It's not just about you and your friends. It's just about you in the public space. And so those are things that are very important that I want you to know about me, that has led to some sources that I have. And so I will just talk about these application tips. Do your homework very well. Don't waste your energy. Channel it on the institution you want to do. And I think we've taken care of that. Probably you want to get into Wentworth. That is why you are here, to learn about this. Go to the Wentworth website. Go to our, we had so many links that were shared yesterday. What are the application criteria? What are the criteria for admission? All these things are open. So check them out, emphasize, and after that, then begin to underscore the things that make you fit for our program or for any university you want to get into. So emphasize it in your letter. There is a statement, a personal statement that you are going to write. People read it. Don't think nobody is going to read it. Every detail in that letter is very important. So, and make sure that like I said, brag about yourself in that letter. And work with your referee. Don't use a referee that you don't have a good rapport with. Make sure that whoever is going to be your reference, I'm not saying that you should indoctrinate it or doctor your reference, but in a way, don't manipulate your referee, but call them, tell them this is how I want you to write it. You understand? Because each university have their own specific requirements. Read about the requirements. Let your referee tailor your reference according to those requirements and follow those instructions. You are sure to get clearance. If you follow instruction, yesterday we were told that everything is merit-based. So follow the instruction, don't miss anything. The way you write your letter is also part of the merit. If you have great CV and get spell check and let somebody have a second, let somebody else double check the readings for you. And talking about funding tips, that is another thing, another workshop for another day, when I begin to mention each of these external opportunities that we can look at. But I will just categorize it into 3. We learned about some of this yesterday. How much minutes do I have, Memo?
I think about 5 minutes.
Okay, great. So we have, so the funding types. So we have this, I'm summarizing it into these categories: institution and university funds, which we learned yesterday that Wentworth, for instance, we can give up to 20% for average. And when they say average, that means there might be some outlier, there might be something more, something less, right? So, and we know that, when you are also looking, you also want to go to university websites, look at how much do you pay per credit, right? I said in the previous slide, do your homework. So you want to know, okay, if I'm going to pay, for example, our credit here on our website is about 1,100. That is about 1,100 or something like that for each credit. Maybe some up to 1,700 or so. But but yesterday we also learned that we are like $400 cheaper than many of our competitors. So now, when you are going, you are looking for a great school like Wentworth, right? And then you are looking for what is their price. Do they overprice themselves? So you want to see that. You want to do the math. How many credits am I taking? Go to the page on the university that talks about the course you want to take and the classes you will be taking and the credits for each class. We have all this public on the website. And then add them together, find out the total amount you will end up paying. Don't allow these things to get onto you unexpectedly. And then when you find all that, then you know, if they say they are going to take 20% on the average of, then you already know that, okay, maybe you are getting something like that. Then if you want to live in the tuition or the dorm, or you don't want to live in the dorm, you decide. And you are able to take off some money. And then you now begin to look for what additional funding can I get? Because now that you are international student and you know you cannot get indigenous funding, what additional funding? Because there is government fund, which we are not going to talk about, because let's assume that everyone is international student, because that's what we're talking about. So government fund is out of the question for you. But what about your own local government funding? I know, unfortunately, that may not be the story in our home country, but we still have something like ETF fund that is available for institutions. You can just write a strong story, make your case known, go through your head of department, make that attempt. If it doesn't work out, you can now begin to look for, okay, what external funding can I get, right? And which, like I said, is a list. And because you attend this, I'm going to send some list of links where you can get international funding that are specifically tailored to Nigeria. Look at their deadlines. Look, because if I pick each one of them or pick, that is not what we can cover right now. So I would rather follow up with you and send a list of links. You can see some things on the internet, but not all of them are tailored to Nigeria. So I'm sending a package to you, a list of links that you can click, because based on the quote that I showed you earlier, you have to do it yourself. It's not what somebody can do for you. When you do it yourself, then our we can become we like that. And lastly, like I would say, private funds, charitable organizations, and companies. Getting private funding, private trust. Now, that comes to, like yesterday, we were made to realize that you have to start by applying. You have to apply. You cannot, don't think that you cannot do it. Sometimes you even need to send a letter and say, okay, I'm applying. I cannot afford the application fee. Can you waive 50% of it? What can you do to help me? There is no harm in, it's not a crime. Nobody saying no is not a crime. Let them say, no, we cannot afford it. But sometimes, it has worked. I see it has worked. If it has not worked, I would not be saying it. It has worked for many people. Asking is not a problem. Ask, make your case very clear. And then let's see whether you can. So once you get your application, submitted, that is the first step. You can have your admission letter, take it to individual private trust, pull fundings together, write letters to organization, charitable fund that want to maybe use that to write off some tax, opportunity to write off some tax stuff. So write them, say, okay, screenshot your admission letter I just got admission from somewhere, I mean, from Wentworth, and I already have so amount. I'm looking for this amount. Okay, there will be some donors here and there. Even in the United States, most of the scholarships that people get, they are from donors, different donors that are put together. So, right, I mean, get this. So this is also a very key area that you can use to get that opportunities. And like I said, I will be sending those lists, and I hope to have another opportunity, a more elaborate one, to talk more about talking deeply about these funding things that you need to do. But make sure that you have the basic requirements. Tell your story the best way you can put it. Write a convincing letter. The letter is key to any application when you are looking for funding, especially your references. Number one, get reputable references. When people are judging your application, they go as far as checking your references, checking their background. Let your reference not be yada yada. I know this person, he has quality, I can vouch for him or her, and all those stuff. Let it be specific. If someone says, I know you, let that letter be detailed how the person know you, in what capacity does the person know you. And if the person says you are hardworking, that is not a reference, right? The reference is about you have worked under me for so years, you were able to do some assignment that was given for 24 hours and you did it in 10 hours. Those are more specific. You are ranked as top 10% or 25% person among my students. That is specific rather than you are brilliant or you are the best, right? So those are things, and make sure that your references are people that can be checked out, that have that can respond to your email all the time. And you work with them directly to make sure that they are doing what is relevant to the request. And I'm very happy to connect with you more. If you send more information, like I said, I will be following up with a list of tips and links that are specific to Nigeria. If you have any question, you can chat, or you can follow up with me again. My email is folajimiy@wit.edu. I will send it in the chat right now. Does anyone want to, before we close, just want to hear from one or two persons, what effort have you made? And how do you want to share your story? Or maybe a question. All right, so I will assume that we got it, and I will be sending further information and links on the link as promised. So I'm going to invite Professor Egar's memo to give the next talk.
Excellent. Could you give me the power to share slides, please? Share my screen.
Oh, go ahead.
There we go. Thank you. Perfect. Can I get a screen test? Can you see it?
Yes.
Awesome. And thanks you for the inspirational talk. Now I'm, I think, motivated to apply for a grant or to get some letters and send them out. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
sorry, I think I got out of time. For some reason, my time was not showing up on my desktop.
Oh, that's fine. I think we can move it.
Okay.
Thank you. So, hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Memo. I wanted to, I guess, split my presentation into two, about a quick intro about my background, what we do. And the second part is to do an activity, I'm calling it Taste of Data Science, where we're going to do an optical character recognition. I'll share a pre-filled notebook, and we're going to do some live coding together.